Today's learning target is I can compare and order integers. So we can use a number line, like the one that we see here, to help us to compare integers, or to compare numbers. And so on this number line, and you can just see with this number line, as numbers move to the left, they actually get smaller, and when you move to the right, the numbers are getting bigger. So this number line stops at 1, but if it continued, it'd be 2, 3, 4, 5. So those numbers are getting larger as we move to the right, getting smaller as we move to the left. And so here we see dots on -4 and -2. And so by looking at this number line, we can see that -4 is smaller, or it's less than -2, because it's to the left of -2. And if you think of that in terms of temperature, -4 degrees is colder or less than -2 degrees. And the way we would write that in words would be just like this: -4 is less than -2, or if you flipped it, -2 is greater than -4. And if you want to use a sign, this is the sign for less than. And so some people say it's like a mouth, and the mouth eats the larger number. I remember that from when I was young. Some people say there's 2 points to this side and only 1 point to this side, and so 2 is greater than 1, so the side that has 2 points points to the bigger number. Either of those are good ways to remember it. But we'd say this is -4 is less than -2, and here we'd say -2 is greater than -4. So to help me solve problems like the ones that I see right here, I'm going to think of a number line in my head, okay, or just write one down. And so when I think about this number line, if I were to have -8, -8 I'm going to place right here. Now, let's see, I know that 0 would be to the right of that, because 0 is bigger than -8. Now, when I think about this, I think, where would -4 go? Well, let's see, I know it goes 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, would be kind of about right here. -5, 6, 7, -8 would be right there. So, here's -8. Here's -4. I see that -8 is to the left. That means it's going to be smaller. So I want my less than sign. -8 is less than -4. Okay. In here, I see my next problem B, I see 5 and 5 would be to the right of 0, because it'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And -1 is going to be more like right here. Okay, so I know that 5 is greater than -1. And here I have -10 and -13, so I know I'd go -9 here, -10, -11, -12, -13. And think about it in terms of temperature. 13 below is colder. It's less than 10 below. So that means -10 is going to be greater than -13. So I have a problem here that's going to have me do some ordering of integers. So I'm going to read the problem here for you. It says the elevations in feet for the lowest points in California, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Kentucky are listed. Here they are here. Which list shows the elevation in order from highest to lowest? Whenever I'm doing a problem, I always like to underline, what am I looking for? So which list shows the elevation in order from highest to lowest, greatest to least, or biggest to smallest, however you want to look at it. So one way to solve this is we could do a number line. And so you can see the number line that was done here. The person who made this number line went and decided to put the numbers in order of 50, because the numbers are pretty large here, so we wouldn't want to do ones, go by ones. That would just not work very well. So, and then you can see that the person who did this said, all right, let's look here, and let's take a look. Here's my Oklahoma, 289. Let's place that one. And they put an O here, and 289 is close to 300, so it's placed right there. And then Kentucky was 257, and that's pretty close to 250, so you can see it goes right there in the number line. And then we have Louisiana is going to be the next one at -8. And -8 is, on this number line, would be fairly close to 0. And then lastly would be California at -282. That's going to be way out there. And so when I look at this, I can see that my largest is on the far right, and then it gets smaller as it goes this way. So it would be Oklahoma, Kentucky, and then Louisiana, and lastly California. So when I'm looking for my answer over here, I want to find the ones that go Oklahoma, which was 289 first. So let's see, that means I can cross out B and C. because I see D and A both have 289 first. And then Kentucky, let's see, that was 257. So there's 257, and nope, not there, so it can't be that one. So D is going to be my correct answer, and let's just make sure. -8, Louisiana, yep, that was my next one. And then California, 282, -282, excuse me. And that was the smallest. Another thing to remember is that there's not always one right way to solve a problem. You might have looked at these numbers and said, okay, I'm not going to do a number line, but instead I'm going to look at the two positive integers first, Oklahoma and Kentucky, because I know those are bigger than the negatives. And then you look at those and you might say, I know 289 is bigger than 257. So I go Oklahoma, Kentucky, and then you might look at the negative integers, -8 and -282, and you say, well, I know -8 is closer to 0, and so I know it's going to go Louisiana, and then lastly, California. So both ways would work.